Oklahoma has been easing into the gambling business since the 1970s, when the legislature approved charity bingo. Today, we have parimutuel racing with casinos at the horse tracks, a state lottery, and Indian gaming operations which nearly rival their counterparts in Las Vegas. At every turn, those with moral objections have warned us of a slippery slope.
It's appealing. I mean, they make a big deal on television about this. Here's a prize winner. They don't show the losers.
And at every turn, we've been told worthy causes, most notably common education, would be the beneficiaries.
I think one of the early projections was $413 million in gross sales and something like 150 or so for education. And that was probably overly optimistic.
If you had to ask me, show me something, Mr. Dickinson, at Dale Public Schools that lotteries and gaming funds have bought for you, there is nothing. We can't show you that.
Some believe recent developments are responsible for a significant increase in Oklahomans addicted to gambling.
I thought about turning the steering wheel into the oncoming traffic.
This edition of Stateline explores the payoff of Oklahoma's gambling industries.
What makes a gambler's heart race? Maybe it's the bright lights, the noise of the machines, or the green felt under a winning hand. More likely, it's the dream. As the cards fall, as the horses turn into the final stretch, a shot of adrenaline forces a little voice to the surface that says, this could be it. Your lucky day. The big one. You know how I feel. That's the dream, and it's shared by thousands of gamblers every day in every corner of the state. The biggest bet of all was made by voters 3 years ago. So what did we get? Who benefits? And at what cost? It's a new day, it's a new life, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
It's time for Powerball, America's biggest jackpot game.
Powerball was the game that when I came here, everybody was talking about long before we even started. That whole mystique of the big jackpot, you know, it's always 15 million or more is what draws a lot of people in, and you know, the odds are long on the game, obviously, but there's always that dream of what would I do if I did win.
And here we go with almost 152 million on the line.
Those dreams lured Oklahomans across state lines, where over the years they spent tens of millions of dollars. Then, in November of 2004, Oklahoma voters decided to take a chance and approved a lottery with the state's share earmarked for education.
We started sales October the 12th of 2005, so we're just a few days more than 2 years old from the standpoint of how long we've been selling tickets.
Originally, the first lottery bill was presented by Senator Henry at the time, and he said that it would bring $500 million a year to Oklahoma. As governor, he reduced that to $300 million. After it passed, he began to say, well, maybe $150 million or less.
It's one of those typical deals where in politics people don't always worry too much about the facts, but you got to compare apples to apples. When Senator Henry proposed his lottery bill had what's called a video lottery in it, where people could basically go to these electronic machines in convenience stores and play it. And states that have video lotteries, their lotteries perform much better and produce much more money for the state. Part of the negotiation on the lottery bill that actually passed and was submitted to the voters took the video lottery out.
What the lottery has delivered is around $69 million a year.
I was the author of the bill, and I think the figures that were anticipated that it would bring in so much were highly inflated. And at the time, I told the governor that. He said, Ron, I think it will bring in that much, when realistically, I did not.
When we looked at what was actually passed and we compared it to surrounding states, it looked like 100 to 150 million would be pretty reasonable.
The thing that irritates me the most in the deal is people say, well, the revenue shortfalls are short going to education. Well, that is revenue that would not have been there had it not been for the lottery.
Oklahoma, unlike Kansas, has had this phenomenal growth in tribal casinos. And so the people that are interested in gaming have all these different choices, only one of which is a lottery.
The choices are available in every part of the state. In 2004, there were 70 Indian casinos in Oklahoma, 4 pari-mutuel tracks, but no racinos, and no statewide lottery. Today, there are over 100 tribal casinos. All 4 Oklahoma horse tracks have racinos, and 2,200 retail outlets across the state will sell you a lottery ticket. Dale Public Schools in Pottawatomie County are typical of most schools in Oklahoma. Superintendent Charlie Dickinson has been with Dale for 26 years.
We have pre-K through 12. I have right at a little over 700 kids on a pretty regular basis. Our enrollment is pretty steady. We're not rising or falling at any great amount. It's a good place to raise your kids.
Like every other school in the state, Dale benefits from Indian gaming and the lottery. After 2 years, how much impact has all that money had?
The honest answer is none. I just don't feel like it has helped us any at all. Those raises, when the legislature have given them to teachers, they gave one last year, they gave one the year before, a lot of that lottery and gaming money was kind of rolled into those teacher salaries. So if you had to ask me, show me something, Mr. Dickinson, at Dale Public Schools that lotteries and gaming funds have bought for you, there is nothing. We can't show you that.
A year ago, it was easy on the lottery, at least, to point to teacher salaries and the increase it was given and say, you know, a little over a third of that increase came from lottery money. So teachers knew that they benefited from the lottery. This year it's in with the state aid formula, so it's just a portion of their overall operating expenses, whether it be teacher salaries, textbooks, materials, utilities. It's not tracked as lottery money once it leaves the state and goes to schools.
There are superintendents that say they get a call from a patron and says, how much money did you get this month from lottery, from the gaming industry? Well, none. Well, what do you mean none? I voted for that. You know, I went to the polls and I voted for that so that your school and our kids could have some money for things. Where's our money?
We have a lot of discussion from schools who are near casinos or patrons saying, okay, you know, we bought lottery tickets and we're wanting that money to go to our local school, and it doesn't work that way. It comes into the state. For instance, Dale Public Schools last year received approximately $50,000 from lottery revenue for the teacher raises. That was really easy to explain, that they received $50,000 that went to teacher raises. This year, the similar portion of money is about 2% of a $2.5 million budget, or $2.5 million state aid formula budget, which makes it more difficult to explain how that's earmarked and what they're spending it for.
In 2005, Common Education received 37.5% of the state budget. Today, it receives 35.5%.
It got portrayed in the legislature, and I think from the governor's office also, that there was going to be a lockbox. And that was the term they used. There was a lockbox on lottery money, a lockbox on the gaming money, where education's going to be funded just like it always was. And over here is a lockbox. And this is the lottery money, and we're going to take this and do extra things with it. Things that we normally can't provide for public school children, we're going to do this. This is what our plan is. And it just didn't happen. That lockbox isn't there. All the money gets rolled in together. You can't really track it.
Former State Representative Forrest Claunch led the fight against the lottery. He says the wording of the law left the lockbox open.
Because the lottery was passed as statute. The lockbox went into the Constitution. That was their big deal. We're going to put it in the Constitution, so you can't change anything. The constitutional provision only says that the money that's put into the lottery trust fund shall then be distributed It doesn't say how much has to be put in there.
You've got kids that are in need of reading tutoring or math tutoring, or you'd like to take an Algebra 1 or an Algebra 2 class that has 25 or 26 kids in it. Go out and hire that math teacher and take that class size down to 18, 19. That would mean something. I mean, it means something to students. Can't do it. I mean, the funds just haven't happened that way. It just doesn't work that way. And it's disappointing.
Today, 54% of every dollar the lottery takes in goes to advertising and prizes. 6.5% is paid to retailers, 4% goes to the running of the lottery, and the rest, 30%, goes to education. And on July the 1st, 2008, that will go up to 35%. In an effort to bring in more money, lottery officials plan to ask lawmakers this year to lift the percentage of the profits the state gets.
One of the charges in the act is to maximize revenues, and in order to do that, we're going to need to be able to put more money in the prizes, and in order to do that, we're going to have to see if we can get the law changed to not mandate a 35% profit, just let us make a profit. I think we can demonstrate that we'll make more real dollars for education, smaller percentage, but more spendable real dollars.
They're asking the legislature to diminish the state's share so that they can increase advertising and prizes, because you can't sustain a lottery. It has to get bigger and better all the time, and you have to advertise more, and you have to encourage people to go lose their money.
I'm not so altruistic that I think everybody plays the lottery because the money goes to education. They play to win. If they don't win, they're glad that the money goes to education.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
Since 2005, education's 6% of the Indian gaming has totaled nearly $63 million. 2 tribes operate casinos near Dale, the Sac and Fox, and the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, which owns Fire Lake Casino. In fact, students at Dale can look out the window in class and see Fire Lake Casino, less than half a mile away. 2 years ago, things started to change out by I-40.
We learned that we were getting neighbors on the corner, and of course, being the kind of community we are, close-knit community, everybody has concerns. And early on, the chairman and vice chairman of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation gave me a call and asked me to come to dinner. Took one of my board members, one of my school board members, and we had dinner with them, and they were very nice, very friendly, sat down with us and said, look, Mr. Dickinson, we realize we're fixing to be your neighbors. We wanted you to know what's going to happen at the corner. Would gambling create a problem? First thing they said was, we have a police force. They're cross-deputized with Potawatomi County. Can we help you? And I said, yes, that would be wonderful. First thing I would like is 8 o'clock in the morning before school takes up, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when school lets out, could you have an officer come through town? Absolutely, Mr. Dickinson, we'll be glad to.
Today, the tribal police are a fixture in a town too small to afford a police force. It's a service the Potawatomi could never have provided 25 years ago, when the tribe was headquartered in a small trailer in Shawnee. Today, the tribe's fortunes have changed.
The evolution of gaming within the state has, of course, been a tortured policy. We started out with Class 2 gaming, which were supposed to be electronic simulations of bingo. And just as 3.2 beer is a non-intoxicating alcoholic beverage, we had 3.2 gaming for a while. The tribes couldn't own the machines because they were kept in a regulatory limbo by the National Indian Gaming Commission as to whether the games would be seized on a whim. We didn't get restaurants, we didn't get hotels, we didn't get golf courses, we didn't get all of the things that normally go with the development of casino tourism, because most of the money that was being made for the gaming business left the state. And that was the result of Class 2 gaming.
In 2004, then State Finance Director Scott Meacham negotiated a compact with the tribes.
We had 38 federally recognized tribes in the state of Oklahoma, all had different ideas on how that ought to work. So kind of bringing everything together that everybody could agree to and then get it through the legislature so you could present it to the voters was a very challenging task.
We were able just within the last 18 months to get normal Las Vegas style games approved, manufactured by the 4 largest vendors in the United States, IGT and Williams and Aristocrat and Bally's. Those games were not approved for use in this state until the approval of the Mississippi letter of transfer.
The letter of transfer allowed Class 3 machines and Class 2 card games in Oklahoma.
The only thing the House can take is an ante from each hand that's played. So the odds of winning for the player are reduced in Oklahoma. And that's why there are 3 airplanes a day full of people going to Las Vegas every day out of Will Rogers Airport.
In fact, the number of people on flights to Las Vegas has gone up. Will Rogers World Airport reports in the past 5 years it has seen an increase of 42%.
We're not, even though we're the 3rd largest gaming venue in the country, we are not offering a competitive gaming product with those states around us.
In 2005, Indian gaming took in about $38 million, increasing to $237 million in 2006, and last year, Oklahoma tribes made over $773 million. Tribes are expanding their casinos and building hotels, resorts, and golf courses.
And our people believe that gaming revenue is seed corn to be planted for the future. It's been gaming money that has allowed us to build the largest standalone grocery store in Oklahoma. It's gaming money that has helped us to own the largest chain of tribally owned national banks in the United States.
Tribal investment is making a significant impact on towns like Shawnee.
In Pottawatomie County, the Citizen Pottawatomie Nation is overwhelmingly the largest employer.
We added 1,000 jobs to this market for the Shawnee and Midwest City area.
And that's really what separates Native American gaming from, say, Las Vegas gaming. And those casinos are fundamentally owned by private corporations, so the money will go to their investors and owners outside the region, whereas the tribes use the gaming money to reinvest in core industries, core services, such as health clinics, pharmacies, hospitals, social service agencies, police departments, grocery stores, and so on, creating a number of jobs.
One thing that probably doesn't get a lot of attention in the press is how much the tribes invest in infrastructure in their local communities. And what we've seen on a lot of these projects is the tribe has actually come in and spent the tribe's own money to do improvements to bridges and overpasses and on-ramps and off-ramps.
You know, we put $8.5 million in that project there at Interstate 40 and the Dale exit. Cash.
It's the tribes that are bringing back the rural areas in Oklahoma, the rural economies, because it's the tribes that are vested there. They're going to stay there.
The casino money may also be credited with preserving an Oklahoma tradition.
It's Ascertain on top. Brago swinging out to the outside. Smooth bid with a big one coming on. And Red Rock.
Oklahoma horsemen were very successful going to other states to race that did have pari-mutuel racing. They went to California. They went to New Mexico. They went all over the country, but they didn't race in Oklahoma.
That changed in 1984 when Oklahomans passed the Pari-Mutuel Wagering Bill.
It was at that time the nation's most modern new racetrack. It was fabulous. It was also the #1 tourism attraction in Oklahoma. And of course, those were glorious, glorious days with average crowds of between 10 and 11,000 people every time we opened the doors.
But after several successful years, Remington's pulling power began to fade.
As things got less profitable, the quality of the horses racing here decreased, and as the level of horses racing decreased, things got less and less profitable.
In the fall of 2004, Oklahomans passed State Question 712 by a 60-40 margin to allow casino gaming at racetracks.
Well, that election was in 2004 in November. And I will tell you that by January of 2005, the track would have been closed had it not been for the overwhelming response of Oklahoma voters to approve the legislation.
In October 2005, racetracks added a new word to the Oklahoma vocabulary, racino.
We took 76,000 square feet of the grandstand level. which had previously been used for seating for horse racing fans. And we took about 60,000 square feet of that and turned it into the casino.
Wells estimates the economic boom is in the neighborhood of $3 billion.
Having a casino has had a vast impact on us. Number one, we operate 365 days a year now instead of 93 days a year. Texans are buying up horse farms in Oklahoma and becoming Oklahomans, and the existing breeders here in Oklahoma have increased their investments. And it's just completely revitalized an industry that was headed downhill and now is more vital than ever.
But not everyone is a winner, and some have lost much more than others.
I've been addicted to gambling for a long time, but I didn't know it because I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I achieved long-term sobriety, but when the gambling became legal in Oklahoma, geography wasn't an issue, and I went in the tank with the gambling. I went off the deep end at that point. You know, the first night that they had gambling in this state, I found myself at the card table waiting for the cards to be dealt. And I sat there for 32 hours before I went home. It had a huge cost to my relationship with my wife and my children, my co-workers, and anybody that knew me. My largest single loss was $17,000. I don't have an exact number of how much money that I lost altogether. I'd think it'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000.
With the explosion of gaming in Oklahoma, counselors are playing catch-up, working to establish a lifeline for a skyrocketing number of desperate people.
Right now we have about 137 counselors that are trained. Hopefully by the end of 2008 we'll have over 200. National statistics indicate 2 to 3% of your population will be pathological in their gambling. Well, when you have 3.5 million people, you're talking about anywhere from 70,000 to 105,000 people that are pathological in their gambling. That's an awful lot of people.
State law requires casinos and the lottery to pay the Department of Mental Health a total of $740,000 a year for gambling addiction treatment.
And I can tell you, with the number of people that we're talking about, this is really not a drop in the bucket. The counselors, you know, it takes quite a bit of money, and $740,000 really just doesn't do it.
When you get a monthly credit card statement with $10,000 in ATMs on it, you know, it's hard to not see that. When you find yourself coasting out of your own driveway at midnight to sneak to the casino while your wife's asleep, you know, you gotta know that's happening.
I think it's just a matter of time till every family in this state is going to be touched by pathological gambling.
Smith says the problem has already begun to affect the Oklahoma economy.
I have 4 bankers on our board, and they thought it was a nice thing to do, except 2.5 years later, they're saying, you know, we have some real issues in our bank. We have some real issues with some of our customers. Their deposits are dwindling very fast, and we look at the ATM charges, and they're all coming from casinos. It's starting to affect our bank. What can we do?
Counselors on the statewide helpline take about 100 serious calls a month from people in need of immediate help.
The good part about this is that we can treat pathological gamblers, and in some cases, the recovery is more whole than it would be for an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Today, driving past those casinos is different because I have an alternative way of looking at those. Am I reestablished? Am I over the indiscretions of my past? Not yet, but you know, life is getting better. Hope, I have hope. And I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train.
Tribe, track, and lottery leaders are also looking into the future and calculating the odds. As the competition heats up, the pressure to move to full Las Vegas-style gambling is building.
It is a certainty. It is not a possibility that they will move to that. The reason is simple. You have to do something, remember, to keep people hooked up. They won't do this forever.
We'd like to someday build to that gaming that you're talking about, where it's full-blown Class 3 gaming, and we wouldn't have to worry about that money going out of state. We want that money to stay within our state borders and grab the travelers and bring them in here, which will only add to our profit share.
Tribes are moving fast, fearful of a looming deadline.
We've had gaming for 4 or 5 years now, but we've lost 5 years of lead time that could have been tremendous development in tourism and all of those things that go along with gaming development. We've lost that. And we are in that curve right here. If we've lost all of this opportunity for revenue for the state, we should go on and legalize all of the things that our competitors around us are playing. When it gets to the point where you'll be able to play an electronic slot machine with your channel selector from your Barcalounger in your den, people will stop going to casinos. If we don't move now, we're going to have missed an economic opportunity that this state will never see again.
The Barcalounger gaming predicted by Mr. Barrett may not be just around the corner, but it might not be that far off either. Congress is considering changes in laws prohibiting internet and interactive gambling. That the gambling business will change seems certain. The question is whether Oklahoma will keep up with the changes and what the state and the state's Indian tribes will do with the payoff.
For a VHS or DVD copy of this program, please send a check or money order for $22.95 to the OETA Foundation, Post Office Box 14190, Oklahoma City 73113. Or to place a credit card order, call 800-879-6382 during regular business hours.